Today I'm going to walk you through how to create the twirl effect. And the first step is to open an image of choice. I like to choose ones that are higher in color, and it can be a blurry photo, as is this, just something that has a little bit more color. And I'm going to take you through multiple different steps. So the first step is to go ahead and unlock your background layer. And then you want to go ahead and rename it. So I'm just going to call it photo. And then I want to convert this layer to a smart object. So by right-clicking, I can choose the option Convert to Smart Object. What that allows me to do is to make edits and changes to the actual photo later. Now, if your photo is a large resolution photo, this process, twirl effect, could take a little bit more time than what you might see with my example. Mine is actually a full-size resolution, but my Photoshop runs a bit faster. So if you ever have problems, you can always downsize the image slightly too. All right, first step, we're going to apply a filter. So I'm going to drop down the filter menu, choose Pixelate and Mezzotint. And the Mezzotint has several different drop-down options. None of these are right or wrong. It's just a preference, and you have the option, because it's a smart filter now, that you can go back in, or a smart object, you can go back in and change which option you choose. I'm going to go ahead and put in, let's try coarse dots on this one. Click OK. And now I want to apply a few more filters. So the next one is going to be a blur. So I'm going to go down to the blur, and I'm going to choose radial blur. And in this case, I'm going to choose 100, zoom, and I'm going to just choose draft quality for the first time. We are going to actually apply this radial blur multiple times. So notice it's a little coarse, it looks a little pixelated, but that will clean up as we continue through our process. So I'm going to run this blur filter one more time. And because I just used the radial blur, notice that the filter shows up at the top of my pull-down menu, so I can select it, and I'm going to keep the settings identical to the first time I ran it. Hit OK. It smooths things out a bit, and I'm going to run it one third and last time. Only this time I'm going to change the quality to best. This will really smooth out the process and make much cleaner lines. As this finishes up, I'm going to go back and add one last filter to my final effect, and that is going to be the twirl filter. So I go back up to filter and come down to distort and twirl. Now this is where the fun comes in. You can change your angle to any angle you want. You can see the little miniature diagram on the bottom right. No correct answer here. Sometimes if you go too much, it gets a little bit too busy, and unless you have really defined colors, it gets, in my opinion, a little bit muddy. So I'm just going to keep it around, let's say, close to 150, and hit OK. As I finish this, notice now the blending of the different colors, and also because we have changed this file to a smart object, I can turn on and turn off any of these filters at any time, so that way I can see what it looked like prior to the filter, and then again what it looks like after the filter. Notice it takes a little bit of time as I process this because it is a full resolution image. And then I can just toggle the twirl filter back on again. I could also go back and double click on any of these words and redo the filter or change the settings that I used. So that's the advantage of using smart filters, that allows you to edit or unedit certain filters that you've applied. Okay, so next we're going to go ahead and duplicate this layer. So you can right click and go to duplicate. You can also drag it down to the bottom of your layers palette to the plus sign, or Command J to duplicate. So quite a few different options. Now what we're going to do is, on this newest copy, we are just going to go in and edit the twirl filter, and we're going to make it negative the number that we had chosen. So I had around 150. I'm going to go ahead and now drag that angle to a negative 150. And then that's going to just change the twirling to the exact opposite of what it is. You don't have to do the exact opposite. You can do any numbers you want. And then our last step will be changing the blend mode to see how these look combined. So I'll get, there's my negative 151. Let it process. Okay, so now I have the two separate layers and I can't see the one underneath because it's just being hidden. So now if I change my blend mode on this top layer, the most common blend modes used would be multiply. And you can see that gets very, very dark. Or lighten, that kind of helps the oranges really pop out. And one other option that's commonly used is pin light. So you can certainly try any of the other blend modes you like if you think those help. I'm going to go ahead and stick with lighten on this particular image. So technically my twirl image is done. I could pull it back into Lightroom. I could do more saturation or more adjustments. I could even add a nice white border. So I'm going to add a new blank layer, grab my rectangular marquee tool, and looking at my rulers, I'm going to start at where the 1 and the 1 meet. Drag it down over to the bottom. So it's again the same dimensions. There we go. So I should have a perfect rectangle there, spaced properly from each of the edges. And if I choose edit stroke, I can add a white stroke in this case. I could add black. I could add any color. I can decide how thick of the width should be. I like 3 pixels, 3, 4, 5, somewhere in that range. I do want to choose inside. That way I get nice sharp corners. If I chose outside, I would get rounded edges. Center is going to be a little closer to rounded. So I'm going to go ahead and stick with this, hit OK. And when I remove my marching ants, I've got a nice little keyline stroke that comes around the image too. And my image is done. So that's how you do a twirl filter effect. You can use any image that you want. And let's see, this other one I've done here, this was a picture of a monkey. And it was this image. So you can see quite a variety of what can be done with the twirl filter.